Hi, good day, and welcome to another in the series of our Success with People live cast. Today, we are engaged with the issue of fostering success in our teams, and we want to do this through harmonious collaboration. I'm Trevor E.S. Smith. I'm with the Success with People Academy, and I will be your guide through the next 30 minutes or so. We promise and we do end these live casts within 30 to 35 minutes. So you can just set aside whatever it is that you're doing and be engaged as we share powerful insights into how you can foster a culture of success in your teams through harmonious collaboration. One of the challenges that stands in the way of team success through collaboration is the issue of diversity. And I said stands in the way. I should actually be in a position to say provides a catalyst, acts as a springboard, because the issue of diversity is not handled well in many organizations, in many teams. Diversity is seen as an obstacle, it's a challenge, it creates a lot of issues. But here, we want to, in this live cast, look at taking on the challenge of converting diversity from being an obstacle, a hurdle, to being a springboard, a platform for success. But some of the challenges that we have, not to ignore them in relation to diversity, is would be things like communication, whether it is language or behavioral styles or culture. Communication barriers can arise from diversity. And then, of course, there is the issue of the unconscious bias. That because we grow up in particular cultures, sometimes there are biases that we are not even aware of, and that also can impact collaboration. And as we work to make our teams more successful, then there's the whole question of inclusion. Inclusion not just on the basis of age or gender, but also behavioral styles. How do we get to a place where all team members feel comfortable, feel that they have a voice, feel that they are welcome and that they are valued? Those are some of the challenges that we have to address as we strive to use harmonious collaboration to drive success in our teams. Then, of course, culture. uh, you might be blessed to have, well, I'm not sure it's a blessing actually. I was about to say you might be blessed to have a team that's, culturally homogeneous. So there's a benefit there in terms of avoiding some of the clashes, but you're going to lose out in terms of the benefits of diversity, of having different views, different perspectives, content, and come together to make music. Uh, Stereotyping comes also with diversity. We have a view of those people like that, and so we make assumptions and we deal with them in the context of how we know that those people are. Yes. And of course, this then can create a problem in terms of retention. How do we attract people into this environment and how do we keep them? And how do we engage them? We know that employee engagement is a constant challenge. And so the other things, of course, would be more frequent conflict and tension, stress. So those are the challenges. But our task is not to recite and to go through the challenges. Our task is to find ways to collaborate for success. And so in this live class, we want to show you actionable strategies to foster success in your teams and in your organization through harmonious collaboration. And we will use some research and some practical examples, but at the same time, we want to give you specific insights as to how to go about this. Yeah. All right. And one of the platforms or springboard for the discourse is to look back at this McKinsey um, research that says that diverse teams are 35% more likely to outperform their counterparts. Now, this is an incentive. We are saying that if you can embrace diversity in your teams, you can, in fact, outperform homogeneous teams. And one of the examples is that Google has been embracing this diverse workforce. And so we know about Google, so we don't have to cite their successes. So that's one. So then let's start our quest for achieving success in our teams through harmonious collaboration. And so one of the things that we want to do is to tap into the power of differences. There is power in diversity. There is power in differences. Heterogeneous teams function better, achieve greater results if they are managed properly than homogeneous teams. So just think about it in real life. If you have, a sort of everybody thinking the same thing, right? As against a situation in which we have various ideas and perspectives contending, then we could see that the diverse team, the heterogeneous team, is more likely to succeed than the homogeneous one. And so that's one of the things we want to do then is to, something I was going to have myself, is to tap into this power of differences, tap into diversity in order to drive our teams to success. And the first area that I would suggest we should start at the top, right? Cultivate inclusive leadership. And what that means is that across the board, with team leaders, all the leaders of your team, they need to get to a place where they can encourage and value diverse perspectives. So we should be seeking input from team members, whether we agree with them or not, whether they are aligned with our views or not, but at least let the views contend. Let us draw on different backgrounds, different experiences, different expertise, different viewpoints. That's part of what it is if we are going to succeed. All right. So that's the first one. The other one would be training. Don't just assume that people are going to come together and just automatically gel. Suggesting that if we want to have this harmonious collaboration, we should invest in training so that people understand how to relate to different perspectives, work to different cultural nuances, behavioral nuances, gender, issues. So that's one of the things that I say, invest in actual training. Get experts in to work with your teams to foster a deeper appreciation. That's the key, appreciation first, and understanding of differences. And then with that understanding, we can put it together, achieve greater harmony. Right. And the third thing, this is important, is instead of having recruitment policies that moves the organization towards a sort of monoculture, where everybody is the same. I've seen it. I'm going to show you a map in a little while that shows you teams that, certainly from a behavioral point of view, are being morphed into sort of clone, clone version of what the organization wants people who come to work on time, who are compliant, who don't ask too many questions, who don't think outside of the box. That's was a I'm seeing that from my team maps, that there was a culture, there was a time when a lot of the recruitment moved teams into that direction. And so we need to look at that now to see, should we be proactive? If we are saying that there is power in diversity, should we be proactive in recruiting and selecting persons who add diversity to the team, to the organization? That's a question that you need to reflect on, but that's something we should look at then. We shouldn't just say, oh, it's a pity, we don't have any diversity in our team. Well, let's start recruitment so that we can change that over time. Then the fourth strategy, as we work to tap into the power of diversity and achieve success through harmonious collaboration, would be to deal with the issue of communication barriers. We have to deal with the issue of communication barriers. And I plead guilty. For me, a lot of communication challenges arise from misunderstandings around behavioral styles. Yeah, that's there. So I know, yes, culture and language differences also apply, but just as simple, even if you're speaking the same language, we come from the very same background, grew up in the same community, I find that there are still challenges in terms of communication. And for me, a lot of it resides into misunderstandings, a failure to appreciate and to understand differences in terms of how people want to receive information, how they want to give information, how they want to receive feedback, how they want to give feedback. And that's why we have built on the DISC framework, our discerning model of communication and leadership, which sort of vast body of knowledge and content that shows people how to navigate different behavioral styles. How do we relate? How do we interact with people who have a different behavioral style? And so that's something that I would suggest would help if we're working towards harmonious collaboration and team success. There are fundamental problems when I seek to give someone instructions in a language, behavioral language, that they don't understand or they don't want to understand. So we could have pushback, we could have total misunderstanding. A quick example would be, how do we give instructions to some individuals who might want more information? So let's just say that my style is this style. And I just figure that everybody should know what to do. We have this mature team. I go and I give the instructions. Bam, 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 do this. And I'm done. I expect to get the results. But there is a team member who is risk averse. They don't want to make any mistakes and they want to have clarity. So they would want to ask some more questions. Yeah. They would want to find out how it is. They might even want a manual or for me to actually show them how to do it. I don't have the time for that. So in my DNS, this style. I might say, hey, you know, go and ask a colleague. Or if it is something that you are doing with on a system, go and use the help desk, you know. So that's a challenge. And what that is doing then, it is putting a barrier in terms of the collaboration that is possible. So I'm just suggesting that having the team understand the differences in behavioral styles makes a huge difference to team dynamics. Yeah. So we could say, oh, I understand. Now I understand why this is the case. And we can move forward from there. All right. So the fifth uh, strategy step in terms of tapping into diversity, making the best use of the diversity in our teams. And remember now, diversity comes in many forms. It could be age, it could be experience, it could be behavioral styles, it could be culture, various styles. So within your team, there is going to be some element of diversity. So one of the things that I'm suggesting as well is that we leverage the strengths that comes from this diversity. Yeah. So instead of having everybody in group think, we have people that are willing and open and come with different perspectives. And certainly, for example, if you're setting up a project team, this is one of the things that you would want to do to make sure that you're building diversity into the team. And I want to suggest something else. I want to suggest that when we are doing our recruitment and selection, we should look to see where this individual is going to be placed. What's the nature of the team in which this individual is going to be working initially? And have a perspective as to whether you want to build diversity into that team. So here is a map to the right. And it's extended this four quadrant map. As you can see, it's heavily skewed towards the left side, which would be steadiness and conscientiousness, structure systems, continuity, quality assurance, those kinds of things. But it is very light in terms of dominance and inducement on the right side, which is where the change, the decisiveness, driven, getting results. And so this team, I'm not saying, that this team can function in certain environments, but it will be challenged to function effectively in a fast-moving, quick-changing environment, highly competitive environment. This team would not be as successful. So one of the things that this Gallup Strength Finders assessment indicates is that when you focus on the strengths, you can achieve higher levels of productivity. So maybe if you're in charge of this team, you're hoping then that you're in an environment in which you will be probably doing the very same things over and over, quality assurance, etc., as against being tasked with disrupting, being innovative, coming up with new ideas and fighting new competition all the time. So that's what I'm suggesting to you, that you must look at the role, the environment in which the team is going to operate, and to make sure then that the members of that team are aligned behaviorally to the task. This situation that we see on the right is a recurring decimal now for me. As we work with teams, we are seeing that because of recruitment policies and because of promotion policies, we have teams now that are not ready for this high speed change, rapid changing environment. Yeah, resilience is going to be challenging. Okay. So the sixth thing would be to culture change. Trust, sorry. Trust is critical to um, effective collaboration. We can't collaborate effectively with people that we don't trust. And trust is not necessarily worried about whether somebody is going to go into your handbag. Trust can also be a promise, you know, that if you achieve this, here are some results. Um, and when you achieve, the results are not there. Uh, Trust can also be with compliance, that you have rules and regulations and you expect that these regulations and rules will be followed, and they're not. So we're saying, hey, what's the point? Can I trust you in other areas? Because here you have clear guidelines. The guidelines are not being followed, and yet still nothing happens. So those are all trust issues. And the suggestion, and this study is here again, that shows that when there's of high levels of trust, productivity can increase by as much as 50%. So therefore, there is a need for us to invest in building trust. And you know, many of you would have clarity as to what it is that needs to be done in order to build trust in your teams. I'm just suggesting like three areas here. One of them is be open and transparent as a leader. Yeah. Own up to your mistakes. Know when you really don't know, and don't say that you know when you really don't know. Yes. Also, create psychological safety for people so that people can come out and speak and feel comfortable. I was working with a group of managers yesterday in a similar session, live session, but more interactivity was involved. Um, yeah, people were just afraid, and I was speaking to some of the leaders afterwards, and they are saying that they're just afraid. They're afraid of their shadow, was the exact phrase. We need to create environments in which people feel comfortable to share without feeling that there are going to be consequences. And then refuse to compromise on things like integrity and honesty. So those are some of the things that will build trust into your organizations and into your teams. Right. In- Inclusion. One of the problems that we have with teams and trying to get collaboration, the whole issue of cliques, silos, or people who just opt out. They don't participate. They're not causing any problems, but they also are not active. You don't get anything out of them. We have to have inclusion. We need to encourage, we need to strive to get everybody involved, everybody engaged. People must participate. And so, even as we watch out for our unconscious bias, but one of the things that we need to look at is the behavioral style as well. So I'm picking out here, I'm sorry for those of you who are in the style, but one of the challenges that we have is that style individuals tend to want to stay in the background. They don't want to come forward. So they have ideas, they have suggestions, but they will wait until others. And of course, our D style and I style individuals are ready to put up hands and to say, make their cases. The problem with that is that we have a lopsided situation in that we're losing out on valuable insights from an important uh, component of our teams. And usually in teams, um, the S style is perhaps the highest percentage. So when the largest percentage of your team or your organization is silent, you have a problem. So I'm raising this as a specific issue to find ways to draw out from those individuals their information. So you might actually have to stop, unfortunately, and call on them because you're not moving forward until you hear what they have to share. Or find platforms, maybe after the meeting, to engage with them. Yeah, that's important. And then, okay, so if you have been participating in our live class, you know that I have been championing a cause to look at something called conflict prevention, not conflict resolution, not conflict management. Well, it's part of conflict management, but conflict resolution. Why? Because I, I've been frustrated for some time with the idea that, conflict is inevitable. We say it every day, conflict is inevitable. What do you expect? Yeah, it's going to be conflict. But that gives me a sense of there's no agency. If there's nothing I can do about it, then I must just wait until this conflict takes place and then work to resolve it. And what prevention is better than cure. And so that's why I'm, you know, pushing, having a campaign to say, let's modify this mantra and to say, yes, conflict is inevitable. But some conflicts, and I would venture to say many conflicts. No, I don't want to go to majority, I might get myself in trouble, but I could say many conflicts can be prevented, not avoided. We're not saying avoid, I'm saying prevented. Okay. So what that really means in essence is to look at triggers. Yes. If we know that, for example, if we look at it behaviorally, that um, approaching done in this way is going to get a pushback, we can anticipate it and craft an approach that is more acceptable to them. Yes? If we know that raising our voice to Susan is going to kind of turn her off and she's not listening anymore, maybe we have to so order ourselves that we speak in tones that are more amenable to Susan. That's what we're saying. We can anticipate and get ahead of potential conflicts if we understand behavioral preferences and if we work to make sure that we behave in ways that respect behavioral preferences. So the other thing would be to look at triggers. The whole point is this, that rain, we look at rain clouds and we can say rain is coming. The same thing can happen. We can see the triggers that lead to conflict, lead to confrontation. And of course, we need to then also appreciate diversity in all its forms and respect those differences. If we do that, then we will have a better chance of preventing, not avoiding, not resolving, but preventing conflicts. So what's the bottom line? The journey to team success really begins with fostering harmony in collaboration. And addressing diversity challenges is a key component of that. We have to look at how we can foster things like inclusivity, um, open communication. We can provide training so that people better understand different um, cultures, different perspectives, and be willing to accept and work with differences. And we can also help people to be able to share their own insights. That's basically what it is. We are suggesting to you that if you apply the principles that we have outlined in this brief life class, could make a difference in terms of your team success. But there's more. You watch TV and they say, but wait, I offered this last week and I'm still going to extend it a little more. Um, still have some capacity, and that is to just offer a live session. It could be a Zoom call where you can actually speak more, freely, as against having to type. And we will do this at no cost. Similar, um, something around team dynamics. You can actually adjust the topic if you want. But just a session, it's going to be like 30, 45 minutes um, with your team. And just send me an email saying, hey, I'd like to take you up on that offer. Info at successwithpeople.org and just request a session. Want to alert you to the fact that these recordings are available on YouTube. If you go to our YouTube channel, Extended Disc Solutions, you can see all of these live casts. And I still would like to invite you to come and join the Leadership DNA Club on LinkedIn. It's not one of those advertising boards where people just come and down stuff. We just have good, solid insights and we invite you to share your insights on the Leadership DNA Club on LinkedIn. And just in case you're just meeting us, we are the Success with People Academy. We are a member of the InfoServe group, and we are sure recertification providers, which in a nutshell means that when we give you a professional development credit, you can actually use it to be recertified with your SHRM CP or your SHRM SCP certification, which that what that means is that we operate at high international standards. We deploy our discerning model of communication and leadership. And yes, our conflict prevention framework to guide teams and individuals and their organizations to greater success. Yes, we are also franchise holders for Extended Disc and the Revolutionary Things platform. We do behavioral assessments. So happy to have a conversation. If you just want to discuss something without any commitment, you can send me a WhatsApp, tap me up on WhatsApp, 876-535-6677, or send me an email at info@successwithpeople.org. Thanks for your time and look forward to talking to you in our next Success with People live class. And remember the offer. If you want to have a live session where you can ask questions and push back and put your own insights with your team, send me an email, info@successwithpeople.org. Thank you.